Agriculture, farming, your balcony or terrace garden, or even growing a pot plant has a lot of components involved. And one key component is the soil. We are now going to talk about the difference the soil has when chemicals are being used and when chemicals are not being used. Welcome to the Going Easy on Earth podcast. This is another audio only edition. We are here again with our expert who also is a master trainer who's worked with a lot of farmers across the country and across the globe, and of course my mom. When you go on these visits, when you travel all of these places, is there any immediate difference that you notice in the soil when you walk onto a farm where chemicals have been used for a long time and when you walk onto a farm where no chemicals have been used?
A farm where chemicals have been used, the soil has become encrusted, hard. And the same thing when you walk on a farm where they have done natural way or without chemicals, you feel a bounce when you walk. You feel as though the soil is moving underneath your feet. So that is the main difference I could find physically. See, soil has got three properties. Mainly, there are many properties, but three major properties. One is the physical property. That is, as soon as you see, you may say it's a red soil or it's a black soil or not very good soil. All that physically what you can see, the soil texture and the structure of the soil is a physical aspect. But the soil has got another aspect, that is the chemical aspect or the minerals and the nutrition that is available in the soil. Why do I say chemical is? See, the major nutrition for a plant is that which is there in the air and in the ground. They are the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Then the second category is the nitrogen, phosphorus, potash. And nitrogen, as you know, a lot of nitrogen is there. 78% of the atmospheric air is made up of nitrogen. Wherever you go on the globe, you will not miss it, right? So nitrogen is one of the major requirements for a plant growth. Then we have potash and phosphorus. These are also there and they are in the soil. And apart from this, the third category, that is calcium, sulfur, magnesium. Again, these 9 are the macronutrients for a plant to grow. Apart from that, a little bit of zinc, copper, sulfur, and manganese, all these, as you see in your periodic table, you take away those 9, the rest are all, they are required by the plant body in minuscule proportion. If the soil has got all the nutrition, only then the plant can have the nutrition, right? So this is the chemical aspect. Then there is one more aspect which you will not find in a conventional farm or a farm where you have grown for a long period of time with the help of fertilizers, chemical fertilizers. The earth has become crusted, the farm has become crusted, and you won't find even earthworms, you won't even find a snake coming to your farm. And that kind of a chemical contamination has happened and the soil has become encrusted. So you have removed the biological aspect. That's the third aspect or the third property of the soil, the biota, soil biota. So the soil biota is everything, all the living microorganisms to small creatures like centipedes, the millipedes, the toads, everything that is in the soil and above the soil. All the biodiversity, what we have lost now, is the third aspect of the soil property. Now when you go to a conventional farm, you will not find the third property because they have already killed it, removed it. But if you go on the border where between the two farms where no agriculture has happened, there you may find a few earthworms, few little life you may find, something moving, small little insect moving or a worm moving, earthworm to be very precise. So that kind of a contamination has happened that we have driven the life out of the soil. But wherever you find naturally producing farms, there you find life there and you feel that the soil is moving. Okay, the life that is there in the soil because they are moving it, and then it has become so very porous, the soil, so very nice that you feel the bounce when you walk on that farm. And you don't need to do any chemical soil testing. You just go walk on the farm and you will know that yes, these guys are really doing without chemicals. So like this, with the little experience, you can make out, yeah.
So the soil having life in it, in the sense of having earthworms and all of these natural organisms in it, is a healthy sign as opposed to something which isn't. And just to compare between the two of them, when we are talking about having porous soil because of earthworms and everything else present, how does it benefit the plant?
See, health of a soil not only depends on the life in the soil, but also the presence of the organic carbon. That is very important. The more carbon content in the soil is said to be more healthy soil. So there is a ratio, carbon to nitrogen ratio, that if it is maintained. But nowadays when you go test the soil, you hardly find carbon, some 0.33%. It should have been 10 or 20 to 1. That's the ratio. Highest carbon content 20 to 1, or it could be 10 to 1. It is not even 1 to 1. 1 carbon to 1 nitrogen. Now when you test, it's all 0.33% or less than that. But the more organic matter is added to the soil, then the carbon content will increase, and then we can say it is a healthy soil. And apart from having all the life in the soil, the biota in the soil.
And when the soil with chemicals becomes hard and encrusted, does it lead to water running off, or what problems comes just because of the texture and what happens there?
Yeah, your previous question also, the same thing. You were asking me, what if the soil is loose? How does it help? Yes, it does lot of help to the crops and the plants. See, soil which is loose and porous, any amount of water that is poured onto that, it is able to take in that water. But if a soil has become encrusted, and if you pour water, it's like your drawing room floor. You pour water, where will the
Hard
water
surface
go? It will remain there only. But the farms which have this kind of a soil, which is nice, loose, and which allows the water to percolate and the air to circulate, that is the ideal type of soil that will host the life in the soil, which will enable the life in the soil. This little moisture and air will aid the life in the soil.
Okay, so having that healthy soil gives all the nutrients to the plant, which then produces all these fruits and vegetables which have a lot more nutrition, which we end up consuming, and of course without any chemicals. And we also had one podcast just on the decarbonization aspect using natural farming, and having porous soil definitely helps that. So you can also go back and listen to that podcast, which is already available. We'll link to that as well. Is there any other benefit that comes along when it comes to having soil which is porous, which is healthy, which without using chemicals, and something which is hardened and using chemicals?
See, when you have this porous soil, it enables the roots to travel far and wide. That is, they can spread properly, and they can, in case there is water shortage, the roots will be able to travel and get the necessary water, nutrition for the plant. And we have seen one such case in our one of the projects we did way back in 2016, where we noticed even after 42 days of dry spell, the plants were quite healthy, they were standing healthy, and the sunflower plant could flower. Whereas just the contrast with 42 days dry spell, a farmer doing with the conventional methodology, the plant, it did not die after 42 days of dry spell, but it was not able to flower. You see the difference. So this soil enables them, this kind of a soil which is enriched with a lot of organic matter and which has become porous over a period of time, and with all the biota in that, and which is making it more live and and loose, and where the air is able to circulate, water is able to percolate. Such soil, they enable the plant to get the nutrition in worst of the scenarios, both the scenarios, when there is heavy rain, untimely rain, unseasonal rain. Even then we saw that the rain water, excess water, it's able to percolate, the soil is able to take in, and the plant is still standing healthy. It does not perish in this heavy rains. And whereas we see in the chemical farm, where the soil has become encrusted, there is no chance for your water to percolate down. Instead, the water flows with the nutrition from one farm to another and ultimately onto the roadside. So this kind of there's a lot of difference between these two. And then there are different other aspects also which I would like to mention, like the soil pH and all this. The more organic matter you add you will be able to balance even the pH of the soil. It should not be neither very alkaline nor very acidic, which is not good for the plant. The plant cannot take in the nutrition in both the conditions. So it has to be, the pH also needs to be balanced. So all this can be done only when you add lot of organic matter, mulch back the farm waste. In natural farming, mulching is one of the key pillars on which the natural farming is based on. So even all this, when you do, automatically that, they call the humus that comes in, that enables to maintain the microclimate in the soil, and all the biota is alive and going. And they are the microorganisms. Soil microorganisms are the ones who are going to fix the nutrition to the plant, that which is available in the soil. So such a beautiful connection, but at the same time so an important connection, which we are removing that connection by using chemicals.
Yeah, and I think one last question is it possible to convert a hardened land with the use of chemicals to a very porous land? How much time does it take for that process to happen? And is that even possible to get rid of all those chemicals?
Yeah, it takes about 6 months, to be very frank. But to be on the safer side, we say more than that, 1 year. Yes, when you add all the organic matter and, the mulch back, when the organic matter itself is added, then even the encrusted soil becomes soft and porous.
Well, with that, we'll close out this discussion. And if there are any questions on natural farming or without use of chemicals around sustainability, you can certainly type it out in the comments. Let us know your thoughts as well. Thank you so much for listening. This is Going Easy on Earth.